Genshin is dying and Wuthering Wave is the Genshin killer. You've probably seen this take all over your feed lately, right? But let's slow down for a second. Are we really witnessing the end of one game and the rise of another? Or are people just getting caught up in the hype circle? What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Richard from Rios11 back again with another video, and we want to cut through the noise and talk about a debate that has been eating up in the gacha community. Genshin Impact versus Wuthering Wave. Look, I get where people are coming from and I get why they want to compare the two games. They are both open world gacha games with similarities, and anytime a new title drops, people rush to crown it the next big thing. But here is the truth about the old Genshin versus Wuthering Wave debate. It's a complete mess at this point. So in this video, we're going to break down why comparing the two isn't as simple or productive as people make it out to be. We're going to talk strengths, flaws, developer decisions, and why both games can thrive without tearing each other apart. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about Genshin Impact. We can easily say Genshin Impact is the godfather of modern gacha game. Why? Because it completely revolutionized the genre and brought it into the mainstream. When Genshin Impact hit the screen, it was the first gacha game that truly felt like a console level experience. The way it seamlessly synced across devices, systems and platforms were groundbreaking. Genshin didn't just bring the standard gacha mechanism to the table, it evolved them. It introduced the world to open world exploration and combat with gacha, and that was something that no one really had seen before. Now let's not sugarcoat it, Genshin Impact definitely had its flaw. The stamina system can be a real pain, and let's not get started with the summoning mechanism. And honestly, the fact that we can't skip certain conversations can really drag the pace down. So yeah, Genshin Impact isn't perfect, but for its time and what it did for the genre, it was really revolutionary. Now, here's where things get interesting. What I really appreciate about Wuthering Wave is that it seems to learn from the mistake of Genshin Impact. It takes note on things that Genshin got wrong and actively tries to improve them. Take the stamina system for example. One of the most annoying aspects of Genshin Impact is how much stamina is burnt when you are climbing or just running around the world. Wuthering Wave really nailed this. You don't waste nearly as much stamina doing basic action like climbing, which makes the game feel more fluid and less annoying. Another big win for Wuthering Wave is the combat system. Honestly, the combat system is more creative and dynamic than what we see in Genshin Impact, and that is something that I really respect. It's clear that the developer looked into Genshin Impact and said, okay, these are the things that work and these are the things we need to improve. For instance, the fact that they removed the PT system in the weapon banner is huge. In Genshin Impact, the weapon banner feels like a massive grind. You're praying for the 5-star weapon to drop, and if you're unlucky, you're stuck for ages. But in Wuthering Wave, it makes getting weapon easier, which is such a win in my book. I won't lie, Wuthering Wave is a solid game, and if you said otherwise, it would be so disingenuous of you. They clearly put a lot of work into making the game enjoyable and addressed a lot of Genshin Impact pain points. But here is where the million-dollar question is Wuthering Wave better than Genshin Impact? This debate is what a lot of fans have been arguing about, and honestly, this is a tough one. As much as I would love to say Wuthering Wave is better, I think at least for now, they are both pretty much at the same level for me, and here is why. Both games bring a ton to the table. Sure, they have their differences, and Wuthering Wave improves on some of Genshin Impact's shortcomings, but Genshin still has major strengths on its own. At this point, it feels like a draw between the two, with each game having its unique appeal. I think that the real issue here is that too many people are too quick to put the two games against each other without really considering what each brings to the table. And it's not about one being better, it's about appreciating them for what they each offer. Now let's take a step back and look at this from the developer's perspective. Yes, I'm a software developer, and as someone who has worked on the field, I can see a lot of things that the average player might not fully understand when it comes to this typical debate. So when people argue about certain aspects of Genshin Impact versus Wuthering Wave, sometimes it just shows that they don't really know what they are talking about. So let me explain. First, let's talk about the combat system. Yes, Wuthering Wave combat system is better than Genshin Impact, no doubt about it. Anyone that says otherwise is probably fooling themselves. But here is the truth. What do you expect Genshin to do? Do you expect them to throw away the entire combat system and completely redesign it? That doesn't make sense. It would mean scrapping a lot of existing code and essentially rebuilding from scratch, which could confuse a lot of players and the fan base. From a software developer's perspective, this is a huge risk. It could cause issues with stability, breaking compatibility with other systems, and ultimately confuse players who are used to the existing mechanism. So it's not a simple just fix it kind of situation. Genshin Impact revolutionized gacha game and set a standard. Wuthering Waves saw that standard and said, alright, let's improve upon it. They built a combat system that is better, but that doesn't mean that Genshin's system is suddenly bad or outdated. It's just how it was built from the ground up, and it's not practical to change it without serious consequence. Next up, the stamina issue. Yes, the stamina in Genshin Impact is a big issue, I get it. But here is something important to note. The stamina system has been a part of Genshin Impact from day one. If you go to any statue of the 7 in the game, it increases your stamina level. You will notice your stamina increases as well. This shows that the stamina has been a very integral part since the beginning of Genshin Impact. Trying to remove or drastically change this mechanism could be incredibly challenging. It's not just about fixing the problem, it's about rewriting core mechanism that has been built into the game's design. Genshin developers aren't blind to this issue. They may not want to mess with something that has been placed for so long, especially if it's not broken per se. Genshin Impact is still incredibly successful and profitable. So from a business perspective, it would make sense to leave certain things as they are. Like a wise man once said, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Now here's my third point, and I'm sure that you can agree with me on this one. The skip button. Wuthering Waves has a skip button, and honestly, that's one of the best things about the game. The ability to skip conversation is a huge quality of life improvement, and I honestly don't know why Genshin Impact hasn't added this feature yet. I could point to legacy code as a possible excuse, but even if they are working with older system, as a developer, I will argue that with the right resources and manpower, this could definitely be implemented. Definitely, it would take some time, maybe 5 or 6 months of work or whatever the typical span between updates is. But it's something that could be fixed. With enough time and focus, adding a skip button should be something entirely feasible. Yet, for somewhat reason, Genshin hasn't prioritized this feature. And it's a bit baffling because this is such a simple yet effective improvement. So there are definitely areas in Genshin Impact that can improve, and I'm not shy to point this out. But from a developer's perspective, it's important to recognize that there are some issues that are more complicated than they might look on the surface. So the next time you hear somebody arguing about Genshin versus WoWA, take a moment to really listen to their point. If they have a valid argument, great. I can totally see where they are coming from. But if it's just the usual complaint about things like the combat system, stamina issue, or weapon banner, well, you can point them to this video. Let them know that some of these things don't necessarily need to change. And honestly, if Genshin tries to change too much too soon, this could throw the whole system, or worse, set the game back for months or even years. So at the end of the day, here is my take. Genshin Impact is a fantastic game, WoWA is a fantastic game, with each having its strengths, and honestly, we are lucky to have both. So when you see somebody bashing Genshin Impact just because of Wuthering Wave or vice versa, take a step back and relax, because at the core, we are talking about two great games with incredible stories and experiences. So before I wrap up this video, I would love to hear what you think. Which game do you prefer and why? Drop your thoughts down in the comment below. I always enjoy reading your perspective. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And click the notification bell so you always stay updated anytime I post a new video. Thank you very much, and I will definitely see you guys later.